I've got my book collection here, and very interesting reading that I recommend people of curious nature, an inquisitive mind, and asking questions about what's going on in the world. These sort of books are quite helpful for me, answering those questions, such as why there are wars, where does money come from, why when we re-elect a new politician does the basic modus operandi stay the same, why does nothing change, why does nothing improve, and there's good reasons. And Illuminati, fact and fiction, is an explanation of all sort of media representations of the Illuminati, from Disney films to conspiracy movies to actually reviews of serious works, such as The Creature from Jekyll Island, right there by Edward Griffin. That's a fantastic book. That's the seminal book that got me on my road to, that explains where money comes from, why there are wars, and the people who benefit from wars by making loans to two countries, funding both sides and selling arms to both sides. It's pretty interesting stuff. I haven't read these ones, Secret Societies and Occult Conspiracy, but that's more about masonry, I think, and secret societies. But None Call It Conspiracy is a great book by Gary Allen. It was a really big hit in the 70s, and when people sort of waking up, it's after 71 and all the Nixon problems, people are a bit more distrusting of politicians. Unseen Hand by Epperson. New World Order is a review of the agenda of the Masons, the New Age movement, and it comes from a Christian's perspective, and it's good for a lot of people. I like that one. End the Fed, fantastic book by Ron Paul. He's having a great effect on politics at the moment. For the first time in a very long time, there's a serious move to audit the Federal Reserve, which is not federal and has no reserves. They had their fat finger 1,000-point plunge just a month ago, and they said, oh, someone pressed the wrong button, B instead of M, and billion instead of million. I think that's a load of tosh. The real reason is financial blackmail against the Congress, saying if you audit the Fed, there's going to be monetary chaos. Here's proof. And Goldman Sachs, with their fancy technology of buying and selling and put options and dodginess, and they managed to pull that little trick off, and Congress went along and said, okay, we'll have to suspend our idea of auditing the Fed. Anyway, great book. Operation Paperclip and the importation of Nazi technology into America, as well as sort of Nazi ideologies under the surface. Don't know it yet. This is good. It's a bit airy-fairy, but it's got a lot of good basic points in there. These are great books. It's a very old book, The Crowded Study of the Popular Mind. Haven't read it yet, but this is more of the things. This is about mind control, and Edward Bernays, the father of the 20th century, basically, in his very good book Propaganda, which was picked up by Hermann Goering. Was it Joseph Goebbels, rather? And that gave propaganda a nasty name when it became associated with Nazis, even though it was invented by this New York ex-German fellow, nephew of Sigmund Freud, who wrote this very good book, Propaganda. The people who run the system, the people who control the media, can constitute the secret government by controlling what people think. And he said it. That's a rough approximation of a quote from him. These books here are insiders and talking about their lofty goals and their brilliant plans for mankind. Tragedy and Hope by Carol Quigley. Oh, why am I zooming in? That's Bill Clinton said, I don't know, it was a maiden speech, or I don't know, when he's accepting the presidency, that thank you Carol Quigley, my mentor and my inspiration. He's from Georgetown, and he was an insider to the goings-on of the banking elite that run the show, and he said he agrees with them and their principles and most of their aims and objectives. The only thing he disagrees is that they remain to they hoped to remain unknown. So he set about writing this tome, which only got one pressing initially, and he was very pissed off because people were reading and saying, wow, this is an insider's report of the secret goings on. And it is. It's a really, really, really good history of the New World Order from an insider's perspective. But it's all glowing and lavishing praise upon the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds for their cunningness and their guile. These are just books that fit there. Yeah, they don't fit on the lower shelves. Wall Street and the Bolshevik Revolution, very, very good book, explaining how the Rockefellers paid for Trotsky when he was living in New York, and he paid for his safe passage to Russia to foment revolution, and they gave him a lot of money. That's a history. It's nothing theoretical. You can read Trotsky and Lenin's own writing. They had chauffeur drivers. They had lots of money. They weren't scraping. They were doing fine. Naked Capitalist, which is a review of this book, Tragedy and Hope. That just gets all the salient points and when he's letting the cat out of the bag, and he really highlights those very important points. Naked Communist, he started writing this one first, The Naked Communist, which was more of an explanation of why socialism has a lot of problems. The idea of a state, a dictatorship of the proletariat ever coming into being, it doesn't exist. It's a sort of a fantasy story that altruistic, nice types want to cling to, but it never comes into reality. This book explains why. The Errors of Socialism by F.A. Hayek, and he was greatly influential upon Ron Paul. He's an Austrian school of economics, Ludwig von Mises, rather. Now, I think the very first book that awakened me to the New World Order and bigger things afoot in our world was this one. I was traveling around in Korea in 2006, and I stumbled into an ethnic grocery store. It was an Indian and Nepalese grocery store, and I found a copy of, I don't know, was it Loose Change, but it was in Indian, had Indian writing all over it, and I said, I wonder what the Indians' perspective on 9/11 was. So I grabbed that Indian CD out of the Korean grocery store, and I took it home with me back to Japan. And I did a bit of Googling, and I saw a movie called, I've got it down here, The Myth and the Reality. This is the first movie I saw on the 9/11 topic, and that is a very, very straightforward appraisal, very soberly and scholarly review of all the fallacies within the official conspiracy version of events. And he just takes apart the official story in a very, exacting, professional way, rather than resorting to sphere tactics to stop you from thinking straight. He wrote this one first. It's a very, very good book. And this one, the cover up which followed, that's a very good book too. Now this is all the people don't like to believe things which make them uncomfortable, so they'll believe any sort of nonsense that makes them feel good. So there are these official debunkers. And this is a review of how they're pushing junk science and fantasy stories. This is a bit... I like this book, but it's got some... I don't know. I don't like Tarpley's, love of FDR. FDR was a socialist who brought in a whole lot of nasty changes, especially in 1933. I haven't read that one yet. Could be interesting. There's the man, Zbigniew Brzezinski. He looks quite like Dracula there. He's the puppet master, and there's Obama riding the donkey.